and I could see so much potential for leaders to be better. And so that I came onto this side of the fence. And so for 25 years, I've been coaching, challenging, inspiring, mentoring leaders to lead from their heart, to lead fully, powerfully, responsibly at this time.
Welcome to Play It By Your Rules, the podcast for those tired of living by somebody else's script and ready to live and lead on their terms. I'm your host, Maggie Rombach, coach, speaker, and strategist. I'm here to spark a little rebel energy and leave you with a sense of possibility. Each episode, I'll talk to leaders, adventurers, experts, and changemakers who found their way. Some loud and bold, others quiet and intentional. You'll walk away with fresh insights, inspiration, and practical tools to chart your next chapter. If you're craving more freedom, flow, and fun, you're in the right place. Let's dive in. Hello and welcome to Play It By Your Rules, my call to find your rules, find your voice, dare to challenge the status quo. And today, as always, I'm delighted to have another amazing guest, Martin PIBYR. But you're going to correct me. As always, without further ado, I give you right the word to you to introduce yourself, to pronounce your name correctly, and tell us what you're up to.
Oh, goodness. So my name is Martin PIBYR. You got it right. So thank you for having me here. I have been an executive coach for 25 years. Prior to that, I was in the technology sector. I love to challenge and inspire leaders to lead consciously, healthily, and run amazing, healthy, high-performing organizations. I care deeply about society and the planet, and I'm very keen to play a role in shifting leadership consciousness and supporting leaders to live in a way that our world needs right now.
I love that. Oh my God, this will go into so many directions, but this is so needed. And my way to articulate that is my mindful rebellion. I think we're in
Yes.
a similar space.
Yes.
So before we get into the more detailed things, let's start big picture. You know, what got you there? Because when we pre-talked, you also went through many pivots in your life yourself. So maybe just in broad strokes, what got you to being a leadership coach and to really stand up to help leaders to bring to the world what the world needs these days?
Wonderful. I had an early midlife crisis at 27. Until 27, I was very kind of following the path that I was sort of told I was supposed to follow. It was about achievement. It was about driving. It was like academic achievement and sporting achievement, and then achievement in work. And I was in sales, in technology, and sales management and running a company. And it was like, get as far as you can, make as much money as you can, be as successful as you can, have a nice house, etc., etc. And really, my soul was yearning for something deeper than that. I got to 27. I remember crying one night on my bed. I was exhausted from achieving so much. I was doing really, really well, better than anyone I knew at the time. And I was like, yes, I'm supposed to feel successful and happy, but I'm not. What's going on? This is something's going on here. And I went on a journey. I did some personal development. I did a particular development course at the time that blew me away. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm just living out my conditioning that I've picked up from society and from my parents and my family life. And I'm just playing out this robot. And then I started to wake up and look for fulfillment and purpose. And so it took me 4 or 5 years to reinvent myself. And I realized I was passionate about development, my own development and the development of others. So, and I saw so much dysfunction in how organizations were working, and I could see so much potential for leaders to be better. And so that I came onto this side of the fence. And so for 25 years, I've been coaching, challenging, inspiring, mentoring leaders to lead from their heart, to lead fully, powerfully, responsibly at this time.
That's amazing. And that was a very early midlife crisis. But,
Yes.
but it's amazing if you already wake up at 27. That's actually a gift, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. Though it was challenging at the time because I felt like a black sheep. I was I was like different. Everyone else was on this train, and I was starting to question it, and I felt it was really hard actually to go against what looked like the mainstream was doing.
And I really love that what you described as this societal conditioning, because that's what I mean, in my words, I call it the script, the script we've been given. And I'm really gotten now more vocal to encourage people to challenge that script and to have a look where it's coming from. And, if you or I, if we want to go all in and be successful, and that makes us happy, great, go for it. But many of us do it because, I mean, I have a similar story. We learned when we were younger, it's great to be successful. There's a ladder, let's climb it because you can. But, to really challenge, is that actually what I want? And if you figure out that that's not necessarily what you want, then it's not so easy to find out what else to do, right? I mean, that you said it took you 5 years, right? There is a
Yeah.
time where you need to do some soul searching to figure out what you would rather do.
Yes, and I love the term soul searching because for me it's about the soul. It's beyond the mind. It's beyond what we think we want. It's beyond what we want really, or what we think we want. It's a deeper thing than that. It's like a nourishing for the soul. So it's the soul that needs to do the searching.
Absolutely. So that's amazing. So since last 25 years, so you very early on then went to work with leaders. And so how do so what's the pitch to leaders? So it's really, so you're helping them to become more aware, more intentional, or, kind of how do you even make them realize that that's something they want and need?
Right, great question. And this has evolved quite a lot over the last 25 years. So I'm going to give you where I am now is I meet leaders where they're at, and they're struggling with certain things. They're suffering in some way, and so I meet them with what they're struggling with, what they want to unlock. I mean, and the classic ones are they're stressed and they're overwhelmed. They're not living life in balance. Um, they have some conflict in their life. They don't have time for their family. They're lacking confidence or not as bold as they'd like to be. Um, they're struggling with some big decisions. So I meet them, like, for example, those are some examples. I meet them with those, and then I help them see. So I'm only interested in playing a big and bold game. Is like, come to me, work with me. If you're up for serious transformation, let's look at this stuff and live an amazing, fulfilling, impactful life. And so and now a lot of my work is bringing them on retreat here in Glastonbury, because I'm in, like, I've just spent 4 weeks myself in Peru, and like wow, it was like a retreat, and taking myself off of my own hamster wheel. I've got to take myself off the hamster wheel. I've got to stop life for a bit, stop my phone ringing, and stop and go, okay, where am I? How am I doing? And what needs to be looked at? And what thinking have I got to shift? And how have I got to open up? So I tend to do a lot of retreats now, to enable people the space to really make shifts.
That's amazing. So what did you do in Peru? And the reason why I'm asking, so I traveled around the world 20 years ago, and my first stop was Peru. And I did the Inca Trail, and I was really disconnected. But what was amazing at the time, so I was pretty young, I was like my late 20s. And at that time, I didn't have a mobile phone, so I basically sent my parents an email about every week or so whilst I was traveling alone in South America. And now I'm a parent and I'm thinking, respect to my parents that they managed, like coped with that. But also for me, it was amazing because I was really disconnected. And these days, it's so rare that we're truly disconnected. So, where did you go in Peru? And did you disconnect completely?
Um, so where did I go in Peru? I went to, I spent a lot of time in Sacred Valley. So Cusco, yes, I did the Inca Trail, Machu Picchu. Um, I spent a lot of time in that area. I spent 9 days living in a community there. And then I went to Lake Titicaca which is, the sacral chakra of the world. It's a really beautiful spiritual place, as you probably know. Um, and yeah, the most profound part was being in this community actually, and some of that was with a shaman, some of that was sitting with wachuma, the plant medicine. Mind-blowingly powerful. Yes.
Wow, that sounds amazing. So you use that also for your retreats back home? So you do also bring in this shamanic experience, if you will?
Um, I bring in my being, which has shifted as a result of that. I'm in the process of exploring how to bring leaders to Peru, actually. I don't do that currently, and I don't, I'm not involved in plant medicine with leaders myself currently.
That sounds amazing. So you started this leadership coaching with early 30s, right? And now you've done it for 20 years. So presumably, probably also the clients shifted along, or maybe not, maybe that's an assumption. But do you see in midlife, is that where people are maybe more ready to question where they're at and more open to make a change and maybe stop climbing the ladder and find something else fulfilling?
Um, yes, I think it's in midlife that it happens more. I think it's not, I mean, if you're looking for generally speaking, yes, I think that's the case. The question is, what level of change is someone looking for? Are they looking to just improve their leadership, which they might be, leading to struggling with certain things about how they're leading, or are they looking for the fundamental overhaul?
Mm.
And yeah, and I guess midlife tends to it's really about where people are struggling and suffering enough to want to change and improve.
Yeah, where it hurts sufficiently. You
Yes.
know, I remember in our pre-talk we also talked about your adventures and all of that. So the analogy I'm using that's probably going to resonate with you. So I compare that to Everest Base Camp. So first of all, I acknowledge getting to Everest Base Camp, that's actually already a major achievement. That's like, mid-high management. But then once you're at base camp, you have to figure out what you want to do next, right? Either you want to summit, but if you want to summit, you have to change kit. You need an oxygen mask. You need other stuff to make it all the way up. Or you're at a point where you're like, okay, I'm okay at base camp, but I want to live it differently. I want to have more balance. I want to have more fulfillment. So it's more about boundaries. Or you're like, okay, fine, I'm done climbing. Now I go down, I go sailing. So that's the real full overhaul you mentioned. So I'm kind of currently testing this analogy with leaders, if that speaks to them. And if they can see those shifts, and then indeed, depending where they're at, maybe some of them still want to summit. And then for all means, let's work out how to get there. But others might be ready for something else.
Yes. Yes, I love that, and I'm thinking there's a couple of things that come to me. One is, what makes you feel alive? Like what are you passionate about and excited by, like deeply?
Hmm.
And I think that's a really important exploration. It's like I try to live my life like that. It's like what am I really excited to do tonight or this weekend, or where's my energy? There's too much in our lives doing things that we think we should do or we have to do, and it drains. It's draining. It's not good for the system. If we decide we want to climb Everest, um, I want to just check why.
Hmm.
I just really want to check why. Where is it coming from, that thinking? And it might be that they want to climb Everest, And yet often underneath the thinking, underneath the desire for Everest, is some is like some routines, some conditioning, some ego, some false beliefs. Actually, So, for example, sometimes I hear people say, "I'm working really hard. I want to get promoted. I want to make it to the top. So I provide for my family."
Hmm.
And like your family need you to earn millions, or actually they'd probably rather you were home on time and giving them presents, not being on your phone, right? So it's like, let's just check the underpinning underneath the desire for Everest is a really healthy one to live a life that you love.
Absolutely. That so resonates because I used to be this typical grade A student, like this high performer. Because at some point, so I'm a sandwich kid. I'm the middle of this, like the middle child. And somewhere just before graduating high school, I suddenly worked out how I can get really good grades. And I felt like that gave me more attention of my parents, which is probably not even factually true, but that's how I perceived it. So I got into this, what I called grade A student habit. I would just perform because I could. And I mean, that I worked out with a psychologist already 15 years ago. But at one point, I started like, but do I actually want to? And then I implemented this new mindset saying, like, actually, in most cases, it's good enough to have a grade B. And then I just let go. And that's what actually makes me happier and gives me more time and more balance. But it was just this habit because I figured out how to do it, because I had this belief that that would give me more love, maybe. And once you realize that's actually a wrong belief, you can replace it with something else. But it's really hard. It's actually a lot of work to find those beliefs that are somewhere hidden in our brains, right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And we we need some help, I think, to look at what beneath, whether it's a therapist, a coach, a retreat. It's like we need help to look deep down into what those beliefs are, and they're like there's layers and layers of them. Like for the rest of our lives, really, there's the opportunity to look and go, what was the thinking underneath why I did that?
Yeah. And do I want to be in that hamster wheel, or do I want to climb? And maybe I don't. But then it's also okay. But then you mentioned that you felt a bit like the black sheep when you question it very young, because it's just everybody around you is on that
Yeah.
train, and you
Yes.
want to jump off the train. But then I assume you probably question if your intuition was the right thing to do because
Yes.
everybody else stayed, right?
Yes, and this you bring up a word that you mentioned, intuition. I like, for me, the whole journey of life is to tune into our deepest wisdom, to be guided by the wisdom within, not to be dictated to by the noise of the mind.
Mm.
And so for me, it's a lifelong journey of what's the wisdom saying, and the wisdom doesn't necessarily isn't the easiest thing a lot of the time, but actually it's our truth. It's the path that I believe we're like here to follow.
That's so true. I've become really curious about intuition for about a year. It started with me preparing a speech where I was speaking about one of my craziest dreams, which was it's really not rational. It's actually a really crazy horse race I would love to do. And as the second I switch on my rational mind, it's dangerous, it's expensive, it doesn't make sense. But my intuition is just every time I watch it, when it's happened, the next race is happening in a few weeks' time in Patagonia. Every time I follow those riders, there's just something in my gut feeling that goes like, I want this. So I started digging into intuition and I started researching on it. So maybe you can help me out on that, because I found a few really good books, including, I think it's Kahneman, Thinking Slow and Fast. But a lot of what I found is talking about intuition more as the automated brain based on your past experiences. It's like the rational mind and the automated mind. And in that sense, intuition is your brain subconsciously looking at all your experiences and saying, I want this. But that's actually not the type of intuition I'm thinking about. I'm interested in intuition that helps you feel the way forward. where yes, of course, your experience probably comes to help, but you might want to do something completely different than your experience. So how do you tune into that intuition?
How did you tune into your intuition about the horse race?
I noticed for me, it was paying attention to my emotions, to really see, as you said before, what lights you up. And when I watch those races, it's a whole mix of excitement, probably intimidation, but also just like a longing for that adventure. It's not rational, right?
No, it's not rational, and the rational mind wants to try and make sense of it and understand what is this intuition thing, and and like, what should I do something or should I not? Why have I got this passion about Patagonia and horses? And for me, there's a simplicity to just following intuition and following passion, and like, does it feel right? Does it feel right? Does this keep coming up for me? And I'm like, well, then just do it.
Hmm. So it's interesting. It's really passion and to pay attention to what keeps coming up. Because I
Yeah.
also think about listeners. So listeners here might think like, okay, but how can I find that? How can I tune into my intuition? So that could be a first way to listen more to the intuition, right? It's just to pay attention to your passion.
Yes. Yeah. And so, like, I'm thinking of practical things. I'm thinking of one example I'll share you in a minute, but I'm also thinking of practical things. Like, I'm looking at my to-do list, here, that I'll get on with after this call. It's like, okay, where does my passion go? What inspires me most? And I know some people on the call, some people listening to this might go, yeah, but what about those tasks that you have to do that you've got to get to? Yes, maybe. But actually, generally, what I'm finding is the more I follow my passion, the more everything seems to take care of itself.
Yeah, you're in flow, and then
Yeah.
you're maybe also more efficient, and then you have more time to also do the
Yes.
boring things, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So absolutely, because the energy's there. Yes. The other example I was going to give, because sometimes I come across people who work so hard, they're all they are is work and family. They work and then they go home and then they're with the family, and that's kind of their life. And so I was with this client the other day whose his kids are just leaving home, and actually he's just sold his company, and so he's like, well, what am I going to? I would say, what are you passionate about? He's like, well, I don't know. And so there's this I just taken up the native flute, the Native American flute, and I haven't played an instrument since I was a kid. But then in July last year, I found myself buying a Native American flute, and I'm like, oh my God, I absolutely love this. I'm like mesmerized by it, and I find myself in Peru buying 4 more of them and playing them on the mountainsides in Pisac. Um, but my point in sharing this is, I think with life, especially sort of midlife onwards, there's this opportunity to go to explore what we're passionate about. What are we being called to do? What's this obviousness, like you and Patagonia?
Yeah, and just try it. And I can give you another practical example that actually happened this morning. So I live in Geneva, and I realized 15 minutes from my house is a ski lift, and I love skiing. I mean, it's a bit low, so I assumed snow is going to be crap. So that's why I hadn't explored it yet. And then I looked really hard at what do I really have to do, like work wise, what are the things I really have to do each week? And I became very clear on, okay, these are the things I really have to do. But then I realized if I get all these things done, I can go skiing Friday mornings. And that's what I did this morning. I dropped my kid to the school. I jumped in the car. It's a 20 minutes drive. Today it was really sunny, so it was amazing. I skied for 2 hours. I came back. This is 3 hours.
Amazing,
Everybody, if that's
amazing.
what lights you up, you know, everybody could do that so often. Maybe not
Yes,
every day, or
yes,
get on a 80% contract. It's once you know what's really
yeah,
truly bringing you alive,
yeah.
there are way to carve that out. I mean, a good friend of mine, she couldn't come today, unfortunately, but she's been doing that for years. She works in a big blue chip company. I think she's now down 60% for the time being because she also has really small kids. But she doesn't put all this 40% off into the kids.
Right.
20% out of that 40% is her doing stuff that lights her up. And she's
Yes.
been doing that for years. And I think it's just awesome because she still likes her work. She's created it at 60%, and the rest she just enjoys life.
Wonderful, wonderful. And I think that I think this isn't just about, what we do in our spare time. I think this is also about being guided to the jobs we do, the companies we work for. Where are you lit up? Where are you excited and inspired, and go in that direction? And as you're talking, Maggie, I'm thinking that, like, what happens then is there's more energy, there's more joy, there's more enjoyment. The energy means that we vibrate, like our whole energy system, like the autonomic nervous system is full of positive energy rather than stress and other things. And of course, what that also means is we do better at what we do better. So we achieve more.
Yeah.
So this isn't just about, going skiing Friday morning. It's way bigger than this. It also impacts our health enormously.
Yeah, yeah. I'm on endorphins. I don't know. Maybe it's not even endorphins. Maybe it's what's the other hormone, the happiness hormone?
Dopamine,
Oxytocin. What? Yeah,
oxytocin.
all of them. But you're so right. And there's something I wanted to pick your brain because I heard you say before you also work with organizations. And as you know, I'm on this whole mindful rebellion. So I work with individuals, with leaders. But then I also like to work with companies. But then I was like, maybe companies get worried if they hear my rebel narrative because they go like, oh my God, and if my employees rebel, I don't even say how to English, but if
Rebel.
I,
Yeah.
is that even what we want? And then I found a book. It's called Rebel Talent. It's by a Yale researcher. And she actually did a lot of studies proving that if people embrace their rebel energy, when they dare to speak up and to show up, actually what happens is more employee engagement, more innovation, and more retention.
Yeah.
So everybody wins. So I don't know,
Yeah.
with the work you see, does that resonate? And
Yeah. I love it. I love it. And it resonates. But what it depends on, though, is the level of consciousness of the senior leaders. Because if they have a controllingness, if they're led by fear in any way, if they've got strong ego, they'll need to control and they'll be confronted by that.
yeah,
With open, mature leaders who have a higher level of consciousness, that will be embraced.
yeah, that's so true.
And
So
so
that's
it
why
ultimately
initially,
comes
yeah,
go on. It ultimately comes down to leadership consciousness, which is my deepest passion. Is if we're really going to change this world and for the better and live the life and the world that we dream of, it's all really comes down to the consciousness of leaders.
absolutely. And that's also why I want to work with leaders even more, because it's what I call the ripple effect. If you and I and others can work with leaders to also, because often I actually think leaders would be really happy and open because that also makes them more fulfilled. But often they're stuck in their own hamster wheel and in their own shoulds, in their own expectation, and on top, all the pressure coming down from even higher. So they're in a really squeezed spot themselves. So if you and I and others could help them to break free from that, everybody would be better off, right?
Yes. Yeah. And there's a rebellion happening worldwide, right? On some level. Like I mean, this links into, if you're into astrology, the age of Aquarius, or into Hinduism, it's the Kali Yuga. It's like there's a time in society and in history right now where the old structures and the old systems are breaking down. They're being challenged, and rebellion is in the air because of the ludicrousy of how leaders are leading. The world is rebelling and coming back to say, hang on a second, this is not acceptable. It's not acceptable that we are burning fossil fuels and not caring for our planet. It's not acceptable that, police or factions of the police will be, doing what they're doing in the US. Yeah, so we are rebelling, and the more ludicrous the leaders are leading, the more the rebellion is starting to come.
I
And I
like that.
think,
I wasn't aware of I'm aware that we're in the year of the fire horse, which I already like. So I wasn't aware of the other, what's the Aquarius? But anyway, all these things, I find them fascinating. And that's good news if there's a shift coming. I think that's what we need.
Yeah, and it requires each of us to stand up and be the change that we seek. And that's, I mean, I've gone through this period, I think, over the last 10 years, like of at certain points, like depression or like resignation about like the state of things. And yet what inspires me to know is that like actually I can be the change that I seek, and I can work on myself. I can vibrate at a higher frequency myself and have a higher level of consciousness and make the impact that I can make. And if we, you know, we work together like that, then actually it causes the ripple effect.
I love that. So if listeners now go like, oh my God, that sounds all amazing, but I have this big deadline tomorrow, I have my profit pressure or my, I work a lot with humanitarians because I used to be at the Red Cross. So I don't know, I have my budget, I have to, I mean, people have pressures. So if people listening go like, okay, I want to break free, I want to get started. Do you have any small thing they could start doing or paying attention to? I mean, where could one start?
Oh goodness, that's a big question. So the first thing I think is to realize there's a lifelong journey of our own inner development, and to begin the journey of whatever that is for you, whether that's reading a book or going on a course or a retreat or whatever. Um, but be committed to shifting and improving and evolving yourself. The practical thing that dawns on me is um, what they're immersed in right now, the budget or the pressure or the presentation tomorrow, etc., is like, how can they, what can they see and shift in the way, in what they're caught up in right now? How could they see it differently? How could they do it differently? How could they be differently in the process of doing that?
Mm.
Because each of those things that they're stressed with right now, including the kids, at home tonight, like with at the dinner table not eating, it's like, who are you going to be in the face of whatever's going on for you?
Mm. I like that. Yeah, it's a lot about intention awareness, right?
Yes,
Just
yes,
start there.
yes.
Mm.
And the longer term thing is a commitment to living and leading an amazing life. And I think there's a it's easy for us to get stuck in the routine and on the hamster wheel, but it's like, start to get committed to, how am I going to ongoingly improve and live a life that I love.
Mm. Yeah, and I mean, you haven't said it explicitly, but implicitly I heard. I think so. I've gotten really into mindfulness over the last 2 years, and I kind of heard a few terms. So I assume, or you can tell me that you're also into that. And I realized now that it's become really a practice and almost like a automatic thing to do. I find my tiny little mindful moments everywhere. Like again this morning on the ski lift, I go up with the gondola 10 minutes. I'm like, fantastic. The sun is out, there are mountains full of snow. It's beautiful. First of all, I paid attention to that. So I wasn't on my phone. I was like, no, I'm just enjoying the beauty, and let's do some breathing. It's like these tiny little things that you can integrate into the day that already helps with the awareness and with the intention.
Yes, I love that. I love that, being present to appreciate what's here right now. The other thing that makes me think of is like, um, seeing the extraordinary in the ordinary.
Mm.
Is like, how can we, like, a lot of life is kind of normal and ordinary in some ways, and yet it can be extraordinary if we see it that way and appreciate it that way.
Yeah, absolutely. Like this small, and that helps. I mean, my kid is still quite small. He's 8 years old. And it's nice with kids, because they are discovering so many things. So they see the extraordinary because for
Yeah,
them, it's just like, wow. And he's also
yeah.
really attuned to that. So he would really go like, oh my God, this flower, it's so beautiful. I mean, he also go like, oh my God, this video game is so cool. But there's always this appreciation of beauty, which is great. And that also makes me realize it's like, yeah, you're right. Let's look at the beauty that is just in front of us.
Mm, yeah. It's like the Buddhist gratitude practice, isn't it? As well as like, three things each day that we can be grateful for, to focus the mind and the energy on something that is positive.
And apparently, I read that about a study, I think, done in Finland. If you do that every evening before falling asleep and paying attention to finish with something positive, apparently there's even data that that makes you healthier because it just, and you sleep better because also your mind is more at peace when you go to sleep. So apparently there's even more and more evidence that that's, proven to be really useful also for your health and your well-being.
Yes. Oh, can I say something on that? Like what dawns on me is a lack of focus that so many people have on their health. Health often gets left behind. Well, I think there's a couple of things. It gets left behind, but our knowledge and education around what it is to be healthy is also kind of a bit thwarted.
Mm.
So the first point is like, without my body, without the health of my body, I'm nothing. I'm in pain. I can't function. I can't be a great dad. I can't, I can't be good in my work. I can't be happy if I'm in pain. And yet we often, there's a lot of people that don't prioritize that until it's too late, and then they're caught up in all sorts of issues. So I'm really passionate, and then the other piece is, do we develop the what education did we have about health and what is healthy? And I think there's a lot now that's very different to 20, 30, 40 years ago that we need to update ourselves on to make sure that we're doing the best things that we can for our body to enable us to live and lead the life that would be amazing for us.
Absolutely. There's a saying like we have so many priorities until your health is down, and then you only have one priority.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Mm. No, I mean, yeah, because I had a really serious health issue 2 years ago, and that get me, I looked into nutrition, I looked into a lot of things, I read tons of books. And what I came across a lot is really the whole effect stress can have, and not necessarily acute stress, but chronic stress, like this little nasty toxic things that just go on forever.
Yeah.
And yes, so yeah, but you're right. So if we want to update ourselves on what is health and where we can find that, where would you send people? Because it's
Oh
true,
God.
there's so much stuff, and knowing what is the right stuff is not that easy.
Yeah. I would generally, so the first philosophy for me is address the cause, not the symptom. Our whole health service is set up to address the symptom. There's a pharmaceutical industry that's, making good money out of selling you something to cure a problem without really looking at the problem or what's causing it. So number one, I would really encourage is make sure you get to sort the cause out, not address the symptom.
Mm.
And then for me, it's like going into the alternative health field is like, and I wouldn't advise where to go. I'd explore and play. And is it acupuncture? Is it massage? Is it kinesiology? Is it what is it like? I don't know. I mean, I don't think there's a simple answer. Actually, it depends on the situation.
Yeah, no, there's so much available. And also in nutrition, like Ayurvedic nutrition. I mean, there's so many, you're right, there's so many options, and then everybody needs to find whatever feels right for them. But at least to question the status quo and see what alternatives are out there, and then
Yes.
go try things out. Cool. Look, we'll be soon moving to the quick fire burst questions. Before we do that, is there anything that you feel like I'm still burning to share, that there's something, you feel like you want listeners to hear or to think about?
Yes. Okay. There's one thing. So I grew up in a very pragmatic, agnostic family. Um, and was very pragmatic most of my life, and started to explore psychology a lot in my late teens and into my 20s and 30s, and then sort of majored on running retreats where I was helping leaders look at the mind and their thinking and so on. And where that's led me is it's led me on to quite a spiritual path, not religious path, but a spiritual path. And I live here in Glastonbury now, which is the spiritual sort of centre of the UK, really. It's a very deeply spiritual place full of myth and mystery and magic, actually. And I think like spirituality is, as a word, and as you know, as people start to get into meditation or things like this, it starts to become more acceptable. But by many, it's linked in with religion, and it's got a bad connotation with many as being a bit fluffy or woo woo. And what I'm finding is the more I go on this path, the more I'm exploring. It's highly pragmatic but highly impactful to living a powerful life in flow. And so, and the reason I'm here in Glastonbury is because it's a place where people come actually for transformation, because the energy in this town is magical. It's amazing, and it's a great container for deeper reflection and contemplation. So I just wanted to share that to see if that resonates for so anyone who's like, what I see as a key part of my personal development path is exploring spirit. Is exploring what is that? What does it actually mean? And actually, it doesn't. It's not really woo woo. It's really quite part of normal life. And the more we explore it, the more opportunity there is for peace of mind, clarity, and wisdom to come through.
I like that. And there's actually two things that come up. Many years ago, actually in a big American corporate, we did a training that was called Corporate Athlete. And it looked at four areas to work on, which was mental, physical, social, and spiritual. So it was already there. And then, of course, spiritual is something different for whoever you talk to. So everybody will find their own opening. But it is really, I think it's even a fundamentally human need, to have something that goes beyond just what we can see and touch. And I also agree that religion has almost like a bit of a bad rap these days, which is a shame. Um, I grew up with a Protestant family, and I think I found my own spirituality now, which is maybe not the strict reading of the organized religion. But what I realized, and that's a whole that would cover a whole other episode, you know, I felt growing up the way I thought of, like God was almost like Père Noël, like Santa Claus, this image of this is the old man. And it's so much bigger, like if you really start looking and digging deeper, there is something about these images that are maybe a bit outdated. And if we look at it a bit more openly, that would open up to so many new ways to think about spirituality.
Yes. And how it occurs to me is that we probably know as a species we probably know 1% of what's really going on. It's like there's all these unexplainable I mean, like even how the planet's got here, like the way we are, where we're from the sun, the way that we're evolving. Like there's so much magic in the design of this planet and this cosmos. I often think, I probably just know 1% of what's going on, so don't get too stuck in what I think I know.
Hmm. Yes. So here we got our listeners something to reflect on. And yeah, and I also think if any of the listeners now maybe feel uncomfortable with that, that's actually an invitation to become even more curious and
Yeah,
to dig deeper. What's that feeling and why does
yeah,
that feel uncomfortable?
great.
Yeah,
Yeah, love it.
cool. Good. Are you ready for the quick fire burst questions?
Yes, I'm ready.
So the challenge is I have seven questions for you, and I challenge you to answer with one word. Oh, I know. I did it myself. It's really hard. Maybe with one idea, but really as concise as possible.
Okay.
Ready to go?
Yeah.
Let's go. So one belief you had to drop to live your way.
Relationship to money.
Hmm. A place that cracked something open in you.
Peru.
Beautiful. One thing you had to unlearn.
That hard work was the only way.
You're non-negotiable right now.
Working hard. No, or not working hard.
Yeah, that'd be better. Working smart, not hard, right?
Absolutely, yeah. Being clever.
Huh. The boldest risk that paid off.
Oh, this is a sensitive one. Probably leaving my marriage. Although I feel quite sensitive saying that, but yeah, it was a very tough decision, and yeah,
But the right one in the end.
but sadly, yeah, sadly the right one.
Yeah, sometimes sometimes hard decisions need to be taken to get probably both of you to a better place ultimately. So one word for your leadership or your life in this chapter.
One word
for your leadership or your life in this chapter.
Conscious.
Ah, nice.
Being conscious.
Yeah, nice. The ripple you hope your story creates.
A wave of inspiration and insight.
Nice. Wave. A tsunami.
Yes, absolutely. A big one.
Nice. Well, thanks so much. You've been amazing. You know, it's so hard to stay concise, but I find it really inspiring because, you know, really when you bottom line, it's amazing what comes up because you have to really, you know, actually listen to your gut feeling what comes up first.
Yeah.
So thanks so much. As we wrap this up, is there any parting thought or tip for listeners that are now really inspired and they want to start somewhere? I mean, you already shared some tips, so maybe a last parting word or advice for listeners.
Just invite you to embrace this one precious life, to live it fully, to be who you really want to be, to live the life that you're really here to live. And yeah, don't get off the hamster wheel and reflect.
Wow. Yes.
Thank you, Maggie. It's been I really enjoyed. Yeah, really
absolutely.
Enjoyed it.
It's been a real pleasure, and you also gave me loads of food for thought. So. That's it for today. If this stirred something in you, don't just sit on it. Do something, anything, today, right now. Take one small intentional step toward more freedom, flow, and fun. And see where the ride takes you. If this hit home, follow the show, share it with a friend, or leave a review. That's how we ripple this energy further. Want to go deeper? Head over to mindset/mastery.ch for coaching, tools, and next steps. Until next time, trust your gut, stay curious, and keep playing by your rules. Bye for now.